Well, hello everyone. It's 5:32 Eastern Daylight Time, and it's Monday. I hope you are all having a marvelous Monday and that you will have a splendid evening. And I wish you all a magnificent week. Welcome to your webinar today, Care for the Caregiver. My name is Giovanni Gaudelli, and I will be your facilitator. Let me spell my name for you. Giovanni, that's G like George, I-O, V like Victory, A-N-N-I. Gaudelli, G like George, A-U, D like Daniel, E-L-L-I. As usual, we'll take care of the logistics right off the bat. Over the next 24 hours, you should be receiving an email with a link for an online survey asking you for some feedback vis-a-vis today's webinar. If you can take a few minutes to do that, that would be really, really appreciated. Also, you should have received with your invitation a link to a participant guide. You don't have to have the guide with you to follow along for today's webinar. I only suggest that you have a pen and at least a blank sheet of paper to take a few notes. But I do encourage you to at least take a look at the participant guide. Download it, look at it, and decide whether you want to print it for yourself or just a few pages. There's a lot of amazing stuff in that participant guide. My objective is to go through it, but to leave you with just like a few really, really important items in line with tonight's webinar. Of course, I'm here for you and not you here for me. So throughout the webinar, at any point in time, I strongly encourage you to ask questions, or if you have a suggestion or a comment you'd like to make, just go to your chat icon and whip it over to me. Or if you prefer your Q&A, the chat is a little easier for us to chat, but if you can go to your Q&A icon too and send it over. I pay very much attention to that because I want to make sure that you walk away with value at the end of today's webinar. So without further ado, excuse the pun, let's get zooming. And I forgot to mention that today is this particular session is being recorded. So if you want to re-listen to it, or if you have colleagues or friends that would like to listen to it, all you need to do is get in touch with the director of your residence, and they'll explain to you how to do that. And it should be available for the next 6 months. Our objectives today: what emotions caregivers experience and why. So we're going to set the stage. You probably already know that, but I will be just confirming that just so that you can feel better about it. The most important part we're going to look at is the strategies to make caregiving easier. Now, notice the word we said there, easier. We didn't say easy. Sometimes it's tough, but maybe if we can make it a touch easier than what it is, then we will have helped you. And I can speak from experience. I'll be sharing that with you later on in the webinar. And of course, some tools to increase your own satisfaction associated with the caregiver role, which is hand in glove with the strategies to make caregiving easier. Some of the common emotions caregivers experience. You see, caregiving can be a highly rewarding and enjoyable experience. The opportunity to give back to a parent or senior relative who has cared for you can be a tremendous expression of love. However, in some cases, it's not unusual to find people thrust into the role of caregiving unexpectedly with little or no experience in the role. And of course, without adequate mental and logistical preparation, new caregivers can also find this experience very challenging. Caregivers commonly face challenges with mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion and may combat a host of negative emotions. For example, guilt, that you feel you aren't doing enough or you feel you are neglecting responsibilities. First item Giovanni wants to tell you, please put away your whip, all right? Stop whipping yourself and giving you a whiplash in your back with self-guilt. You can only do what you can do. And always focus on that. I'm going to give you some simple pointers to help you do that, but easy with the guilt part. Grief, of course, perhaps for the way things used to be, or certainly after a loved one dies. I mean, if we are a caregiver, obviously it's because the person we're caring for needs it, which means there's a kind of a grief with the fact that things are not the way they used to be. And so that's kind of a bit of a tough grieving period. Depression can be very common, especially where serious illness is involved. Now, the key here, when we refer to depression, is to feel depressed. First thing I want to say, if you're feeling depressed on any one particular day, easy on the guilt. You're allowed to feel depressed. The key is how to get out of it. It's not necessarily easy, but don't get stressed and depressed because you're depressed, because now you're just making it worse. Okay? So if you're feeling down one particular day because it's just not going, you just take a few deep breaths. Okay, remember the deep breathing is important. I did that in the other sessions, and just say to yourself, something, I'm allowed to be depressed. Okay, all right, okay. So now where do I go from here? You see, you're just kind of going. All right. Otherwise, you might make it worse. Anger. You may ask yourself, why me, or why my mom, or why my son, or why my father, or whatever. Okay. Well, you're never going to get the answer to that. So, again, you're allowed to feel anger, accept it, but now let's see how we can go on. Fear, that's a toughie. And most of the time, it's fear of the unknown, maybe of the death of a loved one, or perhaps lack of strength. Now, the other thing with fear is that because there's the unknown, well, you might fall into the trap where you're going to make it worse. You're going to let your imagination go astray, and then you're going to start imagining all these catastrophic things. So just look at whatever the reality is in the present moment. What is it that you can do, as opposed to figuring out what you can't do? In other words, you're going to think of all these things which in essence you have no control over. And yes, there are situations, especially during this period now that we're all going through with this COVID-19. I mean, it's just making a bad situation even more difficult. Now, this doesn't make it any more pleasant. There's a lot more uncertainty, but let's not add to the problem ourselves. Let's look at what is it that I can do and focus on what we can do, as opposed to on what you'd like to, but you can't. Well, all right. And of course, stress, right? All these type of things, by the way, can be contributing to different levels of stress. And the good news is there's satisfaction. It often comes with the close relationships that can occur with your loved one, the feeling of giving back to your parents. Why do we have such a range of emotions? Well, we're trying to be perfect, okay? Well, guess what? We're not going to be. No matter what you do, you cannot be perfect, okay? So we need to accept that. We may set for ourselves unrealistic expectations where we have to be available 24/7 and this and that and so on. Here's 4 words I want you to practice, okay? And I'm going to be repeating these because these are so important. I want you to practice to say these 4 words, which are going to help you big time. They can actually save your life, seriously, because you might put yourself in a situation where you're going to exhaust yourself and make things really bad. And here are the 4 words I want you to practice. I need your help. Let me repeat that. I need your help. One of the things I've observed from a lot of people, especially caregivers, is they have so many expectations. They want to do so much, and it's like they don't ask for help. I mean, they're giving all the help they can, and they're not asking. Okay, who do you ask? Well, you decide. Okay, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a professional. Like, I need your help. Believe me, you will be very pleasantly surprised on how much people are there to help. I mean, look at some of these situations where people go, like the GoFundMe. People need tons and tons of money, and they create a GoFund, and people just like give. Well, in essence, what are these people doing when they set up a fund like that? They're asking for help. And look how many people are willing to help. Okay, so you don't have to start a GoFund site. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I am suggesting is that there's plenty of people out there who are willing to help. Some don't know that you need help because you might be hiding it. Some have no idea how they can help, but just, I need your help. It could be from your kids, from your other family members. I mean, just because sometimes there might be help in helping with the person that you're doing the caregiving, or it might be just help to help you. And in helping you, it allows you to be able to help the person that you have to do the caregiving for. I mean, there's different ways that you can receive help, but you need to ask for it. I need your help. Okay? Of course, you might also have unpleasant thoughts and feelings, right? So that's what I was saying before, where we start catastrophizing because of the uncertainty. Uncertainty means it's uncertain, okay? So let's accept that it's uncertain. Let's go with today. Today is the only thing I can control. Like yesterday is gone, and tomorrow, well, we'll see what tomorrow is, okay? Feelings about the past. Well, the history of your relationship with your senior or whoever you're taking care of may be negative. So you have some decisions to make. Okay, what is it you want to do, and why will you want to do that? And if you make a decision that you're going to be the caregiver, well, you know something? Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and make peace. And by making peace, it's going to be good for you. That's why you're doing it. That's why you want to make peace with the past. You might be also expressing irritation or anger. Guess what? It happens to all of us. You might not be able to accept help. See what I said there? Please, I need your help. I need your help. I spent a full year with my mom as a result of her being after surgery for colorectal cancer. So she had colorectal cancer, and it was serious enough, and the oncologist said that she must go through surgery. So that in itself was very, very difficult for my mom. So myself and my sister, my other sister's in Calgary. I'm here in Montreal. So my sister in Calgary basically was more of moral support than anything else. Okay, and there every day, you know, in the intensive care and after the surgery and so on and so forth. And she was recovering quite well. And I asked my sister for help. I kind of was the official caregiver, but I did ask my sister for help because we had to purchase certain items. When you have colorectal surgery, well, what happens is you end up with a special bag because you can no longer, how should I say, how can I put this nicely? You can no longer do number two the way you used to, okay? And so we had to work with that. We had to find the right size and so on. And then I followed my mom, and she started doing well. She did well for about 4, 5, 6 months. Things were going great. And I would make sure that I touched base with her at least once a day. She was able to handle all her stuff. Everything was fine. And then, of course, things started getting worse. And I went with her to the oncologist once, twice, 3 times. And he said, well, listen, the cancer has spread now and so on. So I was with my mom, and they tried chemotherapy. I would be with my mom every single week for almost 6 hours between the time we got to the hospital. She had the chemo, and then we would go back home. I'd stay with her until she was able to be okay. I would cook for her a bit. Okay. My mom lived alone. She was totally autonomous, and you know, she was fine. Sometimes I would sleep over depending on the situation. Okay. And I would ask my sister for help depending on the situation. My sister appreciated it because she didn't know, like, what do you want me to do? And so on. So I says, look, I got things under control, but I do need help for this. I do need help for that. She goes, cool. All right. And the odd time, she would actually bring my mom to the hospital for the chemo. And the odd time, so would my spouse, because that particular day was totally impossible for me to get out of it, my work engagements, to be able to do that. And during that period, I found a way to chat with my mom, laugh with my mom, like keep her mind busy and out of this very, very negative stuff, which was this chemotherapy. And the good news is that she didn't have very, very big negative reactions to it. Unfortunately, it didn't do the job. And so then we had to follow her during the palliative time when basically what the situation then was one where we made sure she didn't suffer. She kept all her, she was able to still speak with us and feel calm and so on. So we kind of grieved before she actually died, which kind of was very therapeutic for us because we were able to, my sister came over from Calgary with her daughters and they were able to be with my mom. And so I planned all that so that everybody was able to see my mom and my mom was able to see everyone. So not a positive situation, but you know something, that's reality. So now it's up to us to decide what we do with reality. Do we make the reality worse or do we find a way to work with it as best as we could? Let me suggest the latter, okay? And that way it's best for everyone, okay? It's really best for everyone. Here's some questions that I'd like you to ask yourself to help you through sometimes, okay? Ask yourself, why am I doing this? The reason for that question is so that you give yourself purpose. You see, when we know why we are doing it, it kind of gives us that oomph and that motivation to actually do it, as opposed to feeling that you have to do it, okay? If you are feeling obliged, that's going to do you in. That's going to get you to go through all these negative range of emotions. But if you say, the reason why I'm doing it is, well, I love my mom and she cared for me and I'll do what I can. What I can't do, I can't, but I'll do whatever I can. And yeah, it might not be pleasant, but that's why I'm doing it. All of a sudden, you have energy and you're motivated as opposed to like, oh, I don't have the choice. Yes, we always have the choice, gang. The choices sometimes are extremely, extremely difficult, but please make the choice of saying, why am I doing this? Okay? You might be having conflicting demands. So what do you need to do? You need to choose. You can't do what you can't do. And maybe the choosing is to do what? Ask for help. The other thing that I'm also recommending, in certain situations, delegate. I mean, if you're the caregiver, everyone around you, right, who's anywhere involved within the family is expecting you to be the leader because that's who the caregiver is. So you can delegate. Now, delegate doesn't mean impose, right? There's different ways of delegating, but please delegate. And normally people will be happy to say, okay, I know what I can do. Otherwise, they're just kind of running around saying, I don't know what to do and can I help and so on. And they don't want to interfere. So do delegate, okay? You're going to have some residential long-term care decisions to make, right? In those particular cases, you may have to involve other family members. So you're going to have to get together. Now, I've heard of situations, yes, where you don't agree and so on and so forth. So hopefully the person that you're taking care of, whether your mom or dad, they're in a situation where they can actually help you with the decisions and make the decisions themselves. And if not, well, the decision will have to be made at some point in time, and you may have to seek professional help to help you with that. And of course, you need relief when the person dies. Now, death, by the way, is not an option. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that we're all going to die, myself and you included. So the key, because sometimes we unconsciously fall into this trap, and we don't do it consciously, fall into this trap as if there's some way we can do so that it's not going to happen. It will happen, okay? It will happen for sure. If the person is ill and so on, well, it's going to happen maybe earlier. So let's find a way between today and whenever that day is, let's make the best of it. Here's another thing I want you to write down. Be kind to yourself. As opposed to the self-guilt and all this other stuff, be kind to yourself. Forgive your mistakes. Okay, gang? All right? Not only accept help, but ask for the help. Okay? Be at peace with the relief because the person will die. You know, like I asked myself, okay, what would my mom tell me after, if she was still alive, the fact that she died, what do you think my mom would tell me to do with my life? And my mom would probably say, you know something, Giovanni, look, I'm dead now, but you take care of yourself, take care of your family. You're allowed to have fun and you're allowed to still enjoy yourself. And so on. That's what my mom would probably say, knowing my mom. So you see, when you have those discussions about them, you can find a way to help yourself through the grief and the relief after the person of course, has died. So be kind to yourself, okay? We're going to feel that the relationship we enjoyed together may have changed. Okay, so let's find a better way to do it. Go ask for help from some community associations. My wife works for the Alzheimer's Society here in Laval, and she's a special counselor, and her job is to help people, caregivers specifically, caregivers, on how to deal with their, usually it's their spouse who's got Alzheimer's. And these people love it. What are they actually doing? Well, they're asking for help. Okay. And my wife, what she's giving them right through her experience and professionalism, well, try this, do that, and so on. Now, of course, in this particular case, with that particular illness, once it gets to a really, really extreme stage, then you really don't have the choice, unfortunately, but you have to, unfortunately, hand that off to another professionals who are going to be able to do it because you won't be able to do it. That being said, here's another suggestion. If you can create a support group, a little bit like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Alcoholics Anonymous, they're basically a support group, right? And they meet, I don't know, I have no idea, is it once a week or once a month, whatever. And they just kind of share. And by them sharing, they're helping each other make it through. So if you can create a support group, either yourself or through an organization, my wife does that. She creates a support group with the caregivers of a certain patient. I shouldn't call them patients, but their spouses in this case, who are suffering from Alzheimer's. And my wife once a month meets with the caregivers, and there's no basic agenda. The agenda is, let's talk about it, share your experiences, let's share some suggestions. We're going to motivate each other. My wife is there to facilitate the session, give counsel in case they ask specific questions. And what happens at the end of people out of it is like a breath of fresh air. They're feeling motivated. They're helping each other. They're realizing that they're not alone in this whole thing. So if you need to create a support group, that could be extremely, extremely helpful to you. It'll create strength in your and your energy and that little motivation to make it through another month or another day or another week. Okay. Sense of loss of your freedom to enjoy life or work. That's why you want to ask yourself, why am I doing this? I mean, we make a lot of decisions in life. And we make decisions to not do something in exchange to do something else. Whether if you decide to go to university, well, guess what? When you're going to university, you're not making the big money because you're actually spending more money because university costs money. But you're making that decision because in exchange of the freedom of being able to work and do whatever you want, you've decided to invest and go to university. And we're making those choices constantly. Okay, so that's why the why am I doing this is very, very key. You may be feeling a sense of loss of lack of companionship. Okay, well, you may have lost it with the person you're doing the caregiving, or you may have even gained more. I know I gained a lot more companionship with my mom. I mean, we got so much closer. We talked about all the crazy stories of the past. We laughed together. And of course, being a mama, she says to me, make sure everything is fine. You're doing what I mean. She was worried more about me and I had to take care of her, but that made it fun. Okay. That made it a lot of fun. And to have a bit of pleasure in an unpleasant situation is so, so key. Lifestyle or finances because of caring for the elder. Again, if we go back to why you're doing it, it'll make those decisions so much easier. Okay. I remember when we had to make a decision for my mom because the home she was in was too big and so on and so on and so on. And I basically was speaking with my sisters, and my sisters basically were, well, we don't know. I go, look, we have to do something. If you don't decide, then I will decide. If not, I'd rather we decide together, and we need to make sure mom is taken care of, and because she took care of us. And so we're going to find a way to make that work, three of us together. And it was like, that's right. Okay. So sometimes, the caregiver needs to be the one in the pole position, as they say in Formula One, to lead everyone. And then everybody feels so much better about it. It's like, okay, we know where we're going and so on and so forth, as opposed to everybody kind of lost in the shuffle, because finances are an important aspect of of the situation. Okay, very, very important. You can't hide from that. And if you're transparent and we're straight, then we look at the reality. We're going to be able. You're going to be able to make those decisions properly together. Strategies for making caregiving easier, right? So remember, I says, forgive your mistakes. You know, we all have limits, okay? And that's the limits are different for everybody. We need to acknowledge and accept them. And guess what? That's right. Ask for help. Delegate where necessary. Here's another thing that I'm strongly recommending. Slow down. Believe me, slowing down will actually make things better and actually technically faster, because if you slow down, you're going to make less mistakes. If you slow down, probably your health is going to be better. If you slow down, your stress is going to be lower. If you slow down, your judgment calls are going to be a little bit better also. If you slow down, you're not going to stress everybody around you. Slow is better, okay, as opposed to running. It's terrible for you. It will stress the person that you're caregiving, right? You know, just like the kids. If we're stressed, the kids get stressed. If we're calm, the kids are calm. Well, guess what? It's the same thing for caregiving, okay? Forgive your feelings. You're feeling some negative feelings, forgive yourself. Make peace with the past. Remember, we talked about that before. Not only accept help, ask for help. Give yourself a break, all right? You need to take care of yourself. How can you take care of someone if you yourself are down and out, exhausted and stressed? Well, number one, you won't be able to do it well. And number two, you're probably going to stress them out and make it much, much worse for them. Okay? And I'm telling you, my mom would be worried. Yeah, but how about work and this? And you're coming with me. And so I go, Mom, relax. Everything is under control. Okay? Everything is cool. I'm here with you today and I'm only here with you. Okay? Relax. Right? Because, and again, in my case, it was a parent, but it could be a spouse, whatever. But a parent, they're always worried more about us than me. So I just can't. And I made it easier for her and, of course, for me. We want to give them the best care, depending on the context, depending on the situation, depending on the finances, depending on all that other stuff, right? I mean, it is what it is. You can't do what you can't do. Listen to your body. Our body speaks to us. Our body tells us if you need to go even more slowly, right? If you need to take a break, go get some help. Delegate. Listen. If you don't listen, you're gonna have to give in to whatever your body says, and then it might be too late. Okay, and then not only do we have an issue with the person who's ill, but now even the caregiver needs help. So imagine that. Okay, so very, very important to give yourself a break. Okay, remember, now we're not flying much because of this coronavirus stuff, but when you fly and they're giving you all these health, all these security measures, among them, what do they say? They say, put on the mask first before you put it on to the person who's depending on us. Usually it's a kid. Well, it's the same thing for caregiving. We need to be able to take care of ourselves, be in good mental and physical shape so that we can give the best care for the person that we are responsible for. And everybody will win out of that. Doesn't mean every day is easy. Absolutely not. Some days are tough. Well, guess what? Those tough days, when you make it through, give yourself a big high five. Celebrate. Well, I don't mean have a party. I mean celebrate your accomplishment, because maybe no one else will. But give yourself a big high five. You know something? This is what I was able to do today. Wow. I'm really proud of myself. Okay? That's important, because that will release in you some amazing dopamine that will help you make it through the next day. Which brings me to my next point. Take it one day at a time. Okay? Any more than that, you're looking for trouble. Okay? So let's see what we're going to do today. How can we make today the best that we can? And focus on that. And then at the end of the day, you give yourself a big high five that you made it. And then when tomorrow comes along, well, tomorrow will become today, right? And then you take care of today, okay? And what we're going through with this COVID-19 proves to us that you better take it day by day, because if you try to project too many days or weeks in advance, guess what? No use doing it, because you're probably going to get a bad surprise at that point in time. You're allowed to feel down. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed, acknowledge your feelings, okay? Their memory will live on. So that's the key. You see, I remember specifically even the first few months after my mom died, it was really freaky because my mom made sure we spoke to each other every day. Okay, and if I didn't call her, she called me, and she'd say, "I'm calling you just to hear your voice," and da 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 da. And we basically maybe didn't say much, but we would speak. And so she would call, and sometimes I could be driving to an appointment or so on. And I remember the first few months after, it was like, Mom isn't calling, but I didn't become sad. I actually decided to speak to her, just like that. Hi, Mom, how you doing? I know you're not there, but you probably would call at this time and so on. And I still speak with her right away, just to have fun or whatever, or even with the kids. And they say, and I said, remember Grandma when she used to this? Remember Grandpa that? So let's find a way. Those are things that are in our control. Okay. And we're all going to end up, unfortunately, dying. But once that's done, how can we make the memory live on beautifully? Okay. That is in our control. And that's what we mean by accepting the circle of life and death. We need to get back on our feet if we need to, right? So we listen to ourselves, listen to what our body's telling us. Seek out support. Boy, that guy shows up again, eh? That need for help, all right? And again, the support group is amazing, okay? It's like a team. When you're in a team, every team member helps each other and so on because you have a common goal in there in place. Well, this is kind of the same aspect, okay? Alone, it's tougher. With others and together, it's a little easier, okay? And as I said, sometimes, depending on the situation that you're in, you may seek to look for a support group in your community that may already exist or that gets created, and that could help. But that could be extremely, extremely beneficial. Some signs and causes of stress. I don't think I'm teaching you anything here, right? Too many demands on our time. Well, guess what? We're never going to have more time to do what we got to do. So the only thing we can do is make decisions on priorities. What is it we're going to do? What is it we're not going to do? Who I'm going to ask help for, right? Because the things need to get done, but we're never going to have more time. So that one is just a major leaguer, stressor. If we're trying to find more time, you won't, okay? You may be socializing less. Of course, the finances, that's a toughie, right? Now, in our particular situation, we were able to make things work well. I was in the financial services industry for 30 years, so that helped me a lot take care of my mom's finances after my dad died. And we were able to put her in a wonderful situation. My mom never had to worry about anything. Everything she felt really, really comfortable and trustworthy. And but we were always in a situation where, it was very simple. If my mom needed the help financially, we would help. She didn't, so that was great, okay? But you got to make it simple. And you can't create money, so you have to make decisions based on what that is. Unmet family expectations. Okay, well, maybe the expectations were too high, right? Okay. Lack of support. Ask for the support. Okay. Dealing with incontinence, right? So obviously, my mom was colorectal cancer, so that was obviously something we had to deal with, and which we dealt with great. My mom, she was awesome. Actually, she gave me so much courage, because when I saw what she went through and she was able to handle it, really, really took responsibility and so on. I said to myself, boy, she can make it through this. I can make it through anything. Constant fatigue, becoming emotional, tearful, poor concentration, right? Listen and go ask for help. Now, sometimes a friend can help us throughout these things, or maybe some professional help if that's the case, right? If you're still in the workforce, maybe there's some services that are provided to you through your work. some employee family assistance programs that might be available to you. Please use them. If you look for the help, you will find the help. Okay? And of course, feelings of depression. Again, we're back to taking care of ourselves. Listen to your body, right? Now, journal your thoughts and feelings. That's not neither here or there. Some people are into journaling, some people are not, right? If you're into that kind of stuff, it's therapeutic because it's almost as if you're taking it and you're putting it on a piece of paper. It's almost as if you're letting go of it by writing it down. You know, it's like writing a letter to someone and you're freeing up all those feelings and so on. And that is the therapeutic aspect of journaling your thoughts and feelings. So if that's something that you think is good for you, fine. If not, don't all go buy a journal now and say, well, we had this webinar and I have to start a journal. Well, if it's going to stress you to journal your stuff, then we haven't really helped you. We've actually stressed you. The whole idea here is, right, is to be honest with yourself, right? To be conscious of how you're feeling and start choosing so that you're choosing what you can control. If necessary, have a family meeting, and maybe you may have to have more than one family meeting, right? Because the situation might be evolving faster than you thought or whatever, so you need to meet again, right? Hopefully they're pleasant, the meetings, and if they're not, well, that's part of the reality too. Ask for help, okay? Seek information, all right? What's really neat now with the new world we're in, it's a lot easier to find information too, because you can just Google questions and then you have access to answers or have access to services that are available. So that will be very, very helpful. This one's very important also. We need to manage our time. Remember I told you, you're never going to have more time. Time is finite. So you're not going to forget that. So what you need to do, what is it that you need to do? You just write your list. What are your priorities? What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Get used to saying no to certain things. We tend to say yes and yes and yes. And what are we doing? We're piling up the load of stuff that we need to do. And then we start finding, oh my God, I can't do all this. So no is okay. You're allowed to say no. And by the way, people don't know that no is your answer unless you tell them. They're just asking you and you're allowed to say no. Okay? And of course, you're going to put the mask on first. So you need to make sure you dedicate good time for yourself so you can stay healthy also. Okay? All right? What I refer to it is sharpening your knife. You see, if you are slicing tomatoes, okay, and your knife is getting dull, and I come to you as your counselor and say, you know something, you should sharpen your knife. And you might say to me, but Giovanni, I don't have time to sharpen my knife. I'm too busy slicing tomatoes. And I'm going to say, yeah. But if you don't take the time out to sharpen your knife, you're going to exhaust yourself slicing tomatoes, and you're going to slice less tomatoes, and the tomatoes are going to be not sliced properly. That's what time for yourself means. It's taking just enough time to sharpen your knife. Because then once you've taken that time off of slicing the tomato and sharpening your knife, guess what? When you get back to slicing those tomatoes, they slice zoom, zoom. The knife is like just cutting through like through butter, zoom. So you're slicing better, you're putting in less effort, and guess what? You got more tomatoes sliced and you got better slices because you took the time to sharpen the knife. And that's what we refer to as time for yourself. So you take care of yourself so you can do the job, the role of the caregiver better, which is excellent for you and of course for the person that you are caregiving for. Satisfaction through caregiving, right? So many people derive intense personal satisfaction and fulfillment from an act of serving another person. You see, remember I said we're all going to die, okay? So like in my particular case, I know, and now I feel great that I actually invested all that time and effort and energy, because now that my mom is gone, I can't go back and say, well, I should have. No, I did what I could when I could. I asked for help when I needed it, and we did the best that we could at that time. And now it feels nice. Show love, gratitude. Okay, gratitude, so key. You don't know how many times I thank my mom. Mom, thanks for this. And she would say, man, what are you thanking me for? Of course I had to do it. And yeah, but mom, look, thanks. You know, I mean, what the hell? I mean, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. I just want to thank you for it. Okay. All right. So it can create for some nice conversations. It doesn't only have to be negative. Of course, renewing the closeness in your relationship. I mean, you know, seeing my mom every single day certainly did that, right? We'd laugh about old stories. We'd look at some photo albums and laugh about them, and or remember some nice things about that. In some cases, healing old wounds, if that's the case. Wasn't our case, but in some cases that can be the thing. So it's a good opportunity for that, and create new nice memories. I remember one of the funny stories is that when I go with my mom, and she'd be going to the hospital, she'd be with the walker. So I go pick her up. Uh, she would sit in the car, put the walker in the car, and then I'd park never really close, just so that she'd walk a little bit more. And my mom, she was like she had a lot of pride. She'd show that she could able to walk and so on and so forth, and she would make it all the time. All right, but then at the end of the day, she would be tired, but she wouldn't tell me. She'd call my sister and say, you know what your brother did today? He got me tired and so on and so forth. But it was fun. It was so funny. And she knew it would happen anyways, right? But it made for fun stuff. And it was my way of saying, Mom, you know, I'm getting you to do some exercise and so on and so forth. Okay? So you can be creative with that and create brand new fun memories that you can still think back at that time. Continuing to show respect, of course, and tell them how you feel, right? Okay, and as I mentioned to you, in our particular situation, we were able to get everybody together, even my sister and the grandchildren from Calgary over. I was able to organize all that while my mom was still in decent shape in the palliative care and so on. So we made out of a not positive thing, well, something pleasant and pleasurable, and we were all able to go through it because in the end, I mean, the result, we knew what it was going to be anyway, so we might as well have made something good out of it. In summary, what is it? We looked at what emotions caregivers experience and why, strategies to make caregiving easier, and some tools to increase satisfaction. So let me repeat some of the stuff I gave you, right? I'm not going to give them in any specific order. First of all, zero self-guilt, okay? Remember, put away the whip that you're whipping yourself in the back there, saying, oh my God, I got to do more. And no. Easy on the self-guilt. You can't do what you can't do. So focus on your controllables and make choices. Be kind to yourself. Slow down. Delegate. Get used to saying, I need your help. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? That will give you a sense of purpose as opposed to a sense of obligation. And that is going to give you energy to keep going forward and be motivated. Create a support group like Alcoholics Anonymous. I use that so that you can each support each other. People are living through similar things where we can discuss. We don't feel totally isolated. We can give each other ideas, and we can keep it going for another day, another week, another month. Listen to your body. Create the opportunity to have nice conversations with the person that you're caregiving for, whether it's stories of the past or you're creating new memories. Remember to put on your mask first. Make sure your knife is sharpened, right? So you need to take care of yourself. Celebrate the accomplishments that you did today because you've accomplished something amazing in your caregiver role. You must show gratitude and celebrate and give yourself a big high five for what you are doing and what you have done. So I say to you, thank you. There's still a few more minutes left in today's webinar. If you have questions or comments or suggestions, just send them over to me. I'll stay online until there are no more questions and so on. And if not, I say to you, I hope you're walking away with some value. I've helped you through your situation that you might be in, whether you are a caregiver or you're helping a caregiver or you know of a caregiver where you want to help. In all these cases, hopefully I've found a way to help you through that. Take care. Ciao, and remember how awesome you all are.